All right, we're back and taking on all things Helldivers because a lot has happened over the weekend. We've got a new mech, and of course, it's controversial. There's also a whole slew of new dispatches flooding in from HQ, and still no sign of the balance patch to end all balance patches. Welcome to the channel, it's LtBuzzLitebeer, and despite all of that, I logged on this morning and had a blast with HD2, all while putting the new mech through its paces, and you know, I've got a lot to say about it. Thanks again for all the love and support you consistently show my channel. In case you haven't done so already, please take just a moment to hit subscribe and to ring that notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. And bingo bango, it's time to check out the Emancipator and all the latest with Helldivers. Okay, first things first, we've got a little less than 24 hours to go on the current Superstore reset, and yeah, it's full of repeats, but in case you haven't picked these up yet, there's the CE81 Juggernaut medium body armor with engineering kit for reduced recoil and +2 grenades, the matching CE81 Juggernaut helmet, the FS34 Kylo Ren Exterminator helmet, and finally the FS34 Exterminator medium body armor with fortified for reduced recoil and 50% resistance to explosive damage. Over to that slew of new dispatches that dropped this weekend, and the first was that we liberated Virelia 5, and therefore now have the Emancipator Exosuits, which is not really new news there. There's also been a further explosion of Terminid evolution on Meridia, and I'm guessing we're going to be hitting that planet soon with a new mission type. The Terminids are also attacking the Seaf facilities on Heath, and if we lose those, our galactic defenses will be significantly impacted. And finally, we learned that scientists on Moradesh are making progress with some sort of way to combat the super colony on Meridia. And then finally, we got a bit of a troll against the players about us once again not obtaining the MD-17 anti-tank mines. Which brings us up to today, as we currently do not have a major order in effect, but that doesn't mean the galaxy map is all quiet. Actually, far from it. Checking in on the Helldivers Companion app, link in the video description to this site, and we currently have 10 liberation campaigns all running simultaneously with the major score about to happen over on Fenrir 3, namely because the progress modifier there is set to 0. So Helldivers are neither helped nor harmed by the percentages, meaning even with 22-ish thousand Helldivers planetside, we're still liberating this planet at close to 5% an hour. Every other liberation campaign is sitting at the standard, -1 to -3%, and TLDR explanation for all of this is the larger a negative multiplier is, the more Helldivers we need, and the progress is considerably slowed. Positive or even null boost mean we can get the job done faster. Now, I've talked about this in previous videos, but we are not kept, in the know by the game because none of this actually displays anywhere on the galaxy map. The Exo-49 Emancipator Exosuit is straight hot dog shit. I'm hearing that a lot, along with the other side applauding how strong it is, and once again, the Helldiver community is split, which I'll talk about in a moment. But first, how to get it? Well, if you don't have the rec credits, there is currently a stratagem effect where you can use it for free right now on your mission of choice. But if you want to purchase it and make it yours permanently, mosey on over to the ship management computer, plop down your 20,000 rec credits, and it's yours. I think you also need to be ranked 25 as well, but I can't confirm that. As far as how this thing performs, well, I wanted to wait out the weekend and give it time to simmer and settle down, and I also wanted to drop in and use it for myself versus both the bots and bugs on Helldive difficulty, away from the discussions, away from those angry Reddit threads, and kind of match it up against my overall feel for the game. I was hoping that with Johan now sitting as the chief creative officer, that the Emancipator would be the second coming of the Patriot mech, when it first launched, in terms of that power delta, but without all the crazy bugs and glitches that we saw when that thing landed in the game. Yes, the aim was off. Yes, you would would die if you were turning and shooting the rocket pods, and it also had a few other nuances, but it would 2-tap Bile Titans and liquefy chargers, and so players were willing to work around the quirkiness of the Patriot. So, how about that Emancipator question now that it's launched? Well, it's not the elite crusher that the Patriot was at launch, before it was nerfed, but that doesn't mean it's absolutely worthless. Here, let me explain. Yes, there are issues with the Emancipator that need to be on the priority bug list, which at this point is probably 200 miles long, like the left arm aim having the same aim issues as that of the Patriot. There's also more of an issue of it not really being able to aim downwards, which is amplified when you take on the Terminids, but after killing myself along with my mech on several occasions, I think this limit on downwards aiming is because if we could have that amount of movement and shoot towards our feet, we would instantly melt our mechs from the AoE damage. Okay, let's get more specific here and talk about the Terminids. And for this, I would rate the Emancipator a 6 or 6+ out of 10. At distance, it can melt Bile Spewers, Brood Commanders, and Hive Guards, and while Chargers are not instantly murdered, like hitting them in the face with an EAT or Quasar, they do go down eventually. And the Eman autocannons also have a decent knockback stun effect to them as well. Now, where the Exo-49 struggles is against the fast-moving, smallish chaff, as the bugs are constantly rushing your position, closing the distance between you and them, and then that not being able to aim downwards issue begins to really show up, along with the left arm not delivering ordnance where you're pointing it at, which becomes even more of a problem the closer a target gets. Yes, this suit closes bug holes and it murks stalkers, which I hate, so that makes me smile. But the fun stops at Bile Titans, which is due to the autocannon damage models. Of course, the AC Sentry is still going to be the king here. It hits hard and does great damage to armored targets. The autocannon rifle does slightly less damage than the Sentry, but it's portable and it's reloadable. So you give up a bit of damage to hardened targets in exchange for mobility. The Emancipator hits just as hard as the autocannon Sentry for baseline damage, but is 1/5 as effective versus those hardened targets, like Bile Titans, like Factory Striders, and turrets. You're going to shoot from now until the cows come home versus one of these behemoths, and you're still not going to have enough damage to drop it. And that's where I think there's this huge disconnect between what players were expecting, a beastly Autobot mech, versus what we actually got, a mobile gun platform with legs that chews through chaff but struggles against the things players think it should liquefy. More on this in a moment, because I want to now hop over to my thoughts on how the Exo-49 fares versus the bots, and this is where I was actually pleasantly surprised. Whereas the bugs constantly throw low-level chaff at you like hunters, like scavengers, and warriors, the bots counter with devastators, lots of them. And here's where the Emancipator does really well, at least in my humble opinion. Keeping distance and staying on the move versus the automatons are two of the most important factors to staying alive, and I was able to do both while using this mech. Plus, it will drop any bot, short of a tank, turret, or factory strider, even Hulks, if you shoot him in the faceplate, will cave to this mech. Whereas with the bugs, I was kind of meh while using the Emancipator. Versus the bots, I would rate this a solid 8 out of 10, as long as you know what it can and can't do. And the best part of using this mech versus the bots is the fact that I'm not getting constantly ragdolled across the entire planet's surface. For me, the way it functions right now with that janky left arm aim, not aiming down or, having enough downwards aim, and the brutally low damage versus armored targets, I wouldn't personally bring this thing into a mission versus the Terminids. They use too much low-level chaff, which I can easily handle on foot, and I can counter things like Bile Spewers with grenades, along with EATs or the Queso Cannon for Chargers or Bile Titans. Plus, I've always got my 500 kgs or an orbital rail strike if I need it, which, while using the mech, you have to jump out, throw the strat strike, and then hop back in. Plus, the bugs move a bit too fast and they spread out quickly unless you can bake them in a bug breach as they come out of the ground. The automatons is where I really start to consider using this thing as one of my primary stratagems, but it does need some heavy dev modifications. Now, versus those pesky rocket devs, heavy devs, and things like Hulks, I like that I can take their abuse and give it straight back without getting turned into a crash test dummy and flung from spot to spot. Plus, the bots tend to stay more closely packed together, making mob splash damage a real thing, and a couple of teammates flinging orbitals and 500s along with anti-tank shots can keep those factory striders and turrets at bay. But, and here it comes, you knew there was a but here, some of these dev choices with these things are just loony. Not being able to equip both the Emancipator and Patriot into my chosen loadout is silly. I know we can do it right now, thanks to the free Emancipator trial period, but the game doesn't let you have both at the ready, and that's a stupid decision in my honest opinion. And remember that once you run out of ammo, and by the way, that's another thing I think this thing needs, a lot more ammo, there's also a 10-minute cooldown before you get another one. And again, ammo runs out very quickly. Was this a studio attempt to make sure we Helldivers weren't too powerful? You know, I honestly don't know, but I don't like it. Another thing that needs to go is that damn anti-air modifier taking our available stratagem selections from 4 down to 3. Now, I've talked about this one many times in the past, but again, it's stupid because there's no way to counter it, not even if you find those AA emplacements and destroy them during the mission, which, by the way, would be cool if once done, that unlocked our 4th stratagem and made it available to use, but sadly, they don't take advantage of that mechanic. We just don't have it available. And wouldn't you know it, as I was getting this video all done and tidied up, ready to upload to YouTube, we got our new major order. Here it is, Helldivers, Operation Enduring Peace Phase 1. The time has come to address the Terminid super colony on Meridia. I thought we were. Using an experimental substance weaponized by our top scientific minds, the Helldivers will conduct a targeted strike to permanently end the threat posed by the super colony. Super Earth's top scientific minds have been gathered on Moradesh to weaponize a highly classified experimental substance known as dark fluid. Dark fluid is a form of synthesized exotic matter liberated from the Illuminate following the First Galactic War. I wonder if we start using this, if that's going to signal to them to come back and take it from us. In a scientific breakthrough, our scientists have used it to engineer a solution to the Terminid super colony on Meridia. The first phase of this operation is to secure a route to Meridia and hold the staging ground until sufficient quantities of dark fluid can be weaponized and deployed. This is the priority. All other territorial losses are acceptable to ensure the success of this operation. Okay, taking a look at the actual galaxy map, diving into it. Here's the Umlaut sector. We have 3 planets that we need to either liberate and or hold. Fenrir 3, Angel's Venture, and Turing. Now, if you take a look at the progress, Fenrir 3 right now is at 98%. We've been plugging away on that one for a while. We currently hold 100% of Angel's Venture, and Turing's at 0%. So this is just now under a 3-day major order to go for 40 medals. Capture and or hold Fenrir 3, Angel's Venture, and Turing. And oh, by the way, while I've got the galaxy map open, I forgot to cover this probably at the beginning of the video. Today's personal order, you got to get 50 enemy kills with the orbital 380mm HE barrage. One of my personal favorite strats in the entire game. So anyway, drop that thing down, probably on an eradicate mission where it's easiest, everything's tight and compact. Get those 50 kills and get your 15 medals. But yeah, there's my thoughts on it all, coming from someone with a bit of experience with the game. Does the Emancipator need more kick? Yes, of course, why not? Would I like to see it hit like the pre-nerf Patriot, especially versus the elites? Again, of course I would. And maybe that will be in this upcoming patch monitored by Johan. But I found through my testing that this was a dramatically different experience versus bots than taking on the bugs. Sound off in the comment section below, and I will of course do my best to respond. Remember to hit subscribe and ring that notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. All my socials, including an open invite link to my ever-growing Helldivers Discord community, can be found down in the video description. Shout out to the nearly 230,000 of you legends from around the world that tune in daily and continue to support me and my content. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.